So you've been accumulating Bitcoin for a few years, and you finally realized that trusted third parties are a security hole and they can't necessarily be trusted. So now you've maybe come to the conclusion that you need yourself a hardware wallet and or a signing device for your Bitcoin. I'm going to tell you the 5 things you need to pay attention to most when buying a hardware wallet. Let's go. I don't normally create educational material per se, but when I saw this post from Documenting BTC about the BitKey hardware wallet slash signing device being available on Amazon, I figured, okay, it's time to make one of these. It's time to make one of these videos, right? So without further ado, we're going to go through what I believe are the 5 main things that you need to watch out for when you are purchasing a hardware wallet. Number 1, always buy the device directly from the manufacturer. What does that mean? Even if the device is being sold on Amazon and claims to be from the manufacturer, I get that, okay? Don't do it. Just go to the website and buy the device directly from them. Never buy a hardware device from eBay, Amazon, any kind. Just make it simple, right? It's the KISS concept, right? Keep it simple, stupid, which means this manufacturer makes this particular hardware device, then I am going to go directly to that manufacturer and I am going to purchase it from there. Also, if you can, use a PO box to have it sent to. This helps with if you're paranoid about people or businesses having your information and knowing where you live. Well, this is a good way to mitigate that. Another reason that you wouldn't want to purchase a hardware wallet slash signing device from one of these third parties is that it could be susceptible to a supply chain attack. Now, keep in mind, even directly from a manufacturer, anything is technically susceptible to a supply chain attack. But when it's going through Amazon or eBay or Mercado Libre, something like that, well, now you have an extra layer where somebody could have actually opened your device, tampered the device, right, installed malicious firmware on it, and then repackaged it again. Okay, so another reason to go directly to the manufacturer. And that brings us to point number 2. When you receive the device, always inspect it. Ensure that the original seals are present. Any sign of tampering, and you should notify the manufacturer for further instructions before proceeding. A lot of these signing devices, okay, they come with specific hologram seals and different types of security measures in the packaging and on the packaging. So if any of that seems to have been tampered or modified, it is not worth it. Okay. And this is something that I used to tell people when I used to troubleshoot computers. So taking the extra time to look at everything thoroughly could be life-changing. And that is worth it, right? You got to ask yourself, is that extra 30 seconds worth my time? Yes, it is, especially when it comes to Bitcoin and especially as your stack continues to grow in purchasing power. Yes, it is worth your time. And that's going to bring us to step number 3. Many of these devices come preloaded with firmware. Now, some manufacturers are starting to, when they sell the device, it is actually coming without firmware and you have to load the firmware initially. Now, regardless of, okay, one of the best practices that I have done is I will always flash the new firmware myself to the device before I generate a seed with the device. So I think that that's very important. Okay, it's a very simple thing to do. A lot of the times, the firmware is usually really easy to update through an application. Let's say if you're using something like a Trezor, if you're using something like a Cold Card, updating the firmware is going to be slightly different, but still pretty simple. You're going to copy the firmware file to a little micro SD card, and then after that, directly from the device, you're going to look through the menu and find an option to flash the firmware on your device. So again, there may be different methods, but still the overarching message is that you get this piece of hardware, and one of the first things you do is you flash the firmware on it. And of course, it should go without saying that the firmware should come from the manufacturer's website. Now, another thing that you can do is you can check every single file, right? Especially when it comes to these firmware files, they usually have a unique hash that is associated with it. So you can verify that unique hash as well to make sure that you are indeed downloading the correct firmware from the manufacturer. This brings us to the next topic. Never show anyone your seed phrase. Never take a picture of the seed phrase. Never store that seed phrase on a device that is connected to the internet or even can connect to the internet. Okay? It's not worth it. There's no reason for anyone to see this. There's no reason for you to point your phone camera at your seed phrase. Okay? There's none of this exists. Number 5, always test your seed phrase. What do I mean by that? Once you have everything set up, you send a very small amount of Bitcoin to your signing device. Then you wipe the device. So usually there's a danger zone section in the configuration of the device where you could sit there and just wipe the whole entire thing. You would follow those steps. You would wipe your device, and then you would restore your seed phrase onto the device and ensure that your funds are available. The world of signing devices and hardware wallets is huge. There is always new stuff coming out. There are always improvements to best practices. I chose these specific 5 things, even though this is not all encompassing. I chose these specific 5 things because I found that they are kind of the most they're the things that people run into the most, right? Like, it's not unusual for us to go and buy a piece of hardware off of Amazon or eBay. We don't even think twice. Okay, but with this, you need to, you know? And again, it's the same type of thing when you're unpackaging a device, right? Anything that you buy, you know, like the unboxing, so to speak. Right? Like, a lot of times you're not really paying attention to the security seals or the security features of the packaging. It's pretty much irrelevant. I mean, who the hell needs secure packaging for a t-shirt, you know, or something like that? But the reality is that this is not a piece of clothing. Okay? Like, this is something that is most likely giving you access to your stored wealth that you are most likely going to be handing off to your children or somebody else in your family. I'm just saying that this needs to be taken a little more seriously. I know that most people want to have an absolute perfect setup, right? Most people want to be able to know with 100% certainty, okay, that everything is safe. But something you need to realize, something we all need to accept, even with our trusted third parties right now, things aren't 100%. So really what you need to do is find a setup that, number 1, you feel comfortable with. Number 2, that offers a high enough degree of security for you that you can sleep at night. And number 3, what you got to remember is this: if it's really easy for you to get to your funds with your current setup, it's going to be just as easy for an attacker to get to your funds with your current setup. Anyways, guys, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Let me know what you think. I mean, it's like, look, I only chose 5 things. I know that there's just so much nuance to each of those steps. But yeah, you know, maybe if people enjoyed this video, I'll definitely make an update. Thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you all next time.